Hello, everyone, and welcome back to SA Smart Chats 2023. I'm Natasha Wilkerson, co-chair of SA Smart, the Mayor's K-12 Smart City Challenge. Joining me today, a very special and probably familiar-looking guest, is the founder and chair of SA Smart, Dr. Cliff Zintgraff. He's also the chief learning officer of the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology. How's it going, Cliff?
Doing great. How you doing, Natasha?
Good. So I was excited to bring you on as, students are kicking off this year's competition. We're talking about transportation, but we're now in 6 years in, right, with SA
That's
Smart.
hard to believe, isn't it?
It's yeah. And
Yeah.
I thought let's go look back. What was that? How did we get started? Do you remember that first meeting when we kicked things off?
No, yeah, I do. Where I think we were in City Hall
Yeah.
in a conference room. We weren't in the mayor's office, but we were down the hall from the mayor's office, and one of the mayor's staff had said, "Well, here's the people that we kind of need at the table," and that's where we met. Right? I don't think
Hmm.
I think I
Nope.
met
Yeah.
you before that meeting. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
and I remember the conversation following where we went across the street, I think, and there was like a little restaurant.
Oh yeah, now that I forgot. But I think
Yeah.
we met there. We met there again, though, didn't we? I think
Hmm.
we went back one time, a lot like looking at the post program evals or something like that, if I remember.
Yeah, and what stands out in my mind is just we had this like idea and we were both so passionate about it and we were like we want to empower kids to solve these problems. We're going to get city officials involved, but it was just an idea, right? And we didn't know
Mhm.
if it was going to work. And I know this idea was sparked earlier. So how did this kind of originate for you?
Well, but before I answer that question, I'm going to just make a point that the students who are watching this, right? We were in the same position
Yeah.
that you're in now. And, I think at one point during my competition clinic intro, actually talk about the fact that I had to make a pitch at one point. But how did it get started? So I used to be in a job that let me travel a lot, sent me around the world, actually. And one day I was in a hotel room in Delhi, India. It's a long way. It's 10 and a half hours time difference from here. So it's all virtually on the other side of the world.
Hmm.
And the it was if you know Delhi's reputation, it's pretty air pollution. Air pollution's pretty bad in Delhi. It's just kind of a fact. And I was looking out the window. I could see maybe 3 blocks out my 20 some odd floor hotel room. And the other thing that happened that day, which I'm not getting a lot of details, but it was a bad news day. There was just a lot in the world that's like, and it kind of made me mad, but it also kind of made me say, well, how are we going to fix this stuff? And it turned out that I had an opportunity to meet Councilman Nuremberg. We had worked with him in a couple of programs. I had the chance to be a STEM advisor for him in his first campaign. And I thought to myself, well, I'm in the business of, doing educational programming for students, and here's a city problem. That's
Hmm.
what we ought to be doing. We ought to be using the problems of our city as a platform for driving really cool experiences, cool opportunities for students to learn and so forth. And the more I thought about that, I thought about the fact that it also matches some of the leading edge approaches to teaching in schools. Pedagogy is the big fancy word, right? But
Right.
you know, the the simpler way to say it is we really, or a lot of educators would like to use experiences that are more relevant. And
Hmm.
what's more relevant than driving down the road and taking 45 minutes to do a drive that should have been 20,
Right.
right? If you live in Delhi, what's more relevant than walking outside and smelling the smog? And, they have like a week a year that is just really awful. And, so that would be relevant to them, but what's relevant to us in San Antonio? So I emailed him, and he was about 2 weeks from the runoff. He had not won election. He was in a runoff. And he emailed me back within a very short time frame uh, it was within 30 minutes. And the essential message was, I love this idea, but maybe I should win my runoff
You were
first.
already ahead.
But if I do, let's talk. And so I'm pleased to say within a couple of months of him taking office, we were having a discussion, and not too long about after that, I met you
Yeah.
in the conference room. So there's
Yeah,
his
and that's
story.
what's my favorite part is that we always talk about giving students authentic experiences. The teachers, they can't be an expert in everything. And that's what we try to do with this competition is we provide mentors and these subject matter experts to support all the teams and the teachers to guide them through each year's competition. And that's what I think is very unique about SA Smart. But how would you describe SA Smart to someone who's like, what is this program competition all about?
The elevator pitch,
Yeah.
as it were. So it's a research and pitch deck competition for students grades 7 to 12. And that it's based, each year we pick a theme. We pull that theme out of a city plan. It happens to be called SA Tomorrow. So we pull a theme out of that plan, and students come up with a local idea, right? We emphasize this a lot, that
Mhm.
we want students to localize the idea, which means find an instance of this problem. Like this year's transportation, next time you're driving down the road, or next time you're riding your bike or whatever, look around and see what problems are really occurring, come up with an idea to solve it, and then do the work to research it. This is what we help you learn how to do the work to research it, work with the mentors that we put in front of you, and make a great deck.
Mhm.
Win the Mayor's Cup.
And win the Mayor's Cup. And talk a little bit about what happens with some of the teams that we've seen in the past where they've able to kind of take it even further than just the competition.
Yeah. So obviously, so we get to May, and our schedule is at the end of May, we have the finals. For the teams, we'll have at least 10 teams make the finals. But for the teams that win, the top three get an opportunity to go into a program called the Spark It Up Incubator, that is run by one of our partners, Epicenter. And so, those students then can continue to see if they can actually bring the idea to fruition. Obviously, if you're in 8th grade or 10th grade, you're not, for the most part, going to stop and start a company, and or
Mhm.
you could, right? But most don't. So this is an opportunity to figure out how you might hand it off to somebody who could run it. Although, our current high school winning team, who is just really doing wonderful work, has actually formed a little nonprofit to try to carry some of their ideas forward. So you have that opportunity to keep
Mhm.
going afterwards, or whether you win or not, you have the opportunity to work with those that like your idea to see if they'd like to adopt it and take that idea
Right.
forward.
And I've talked to several transportation experts. They're part of these SA Smart chats, and they are just so excited that kids are tackling this issue. And it's authentic, right? Like they really want to hear what these teams participating think and what do they see as one are the problems in transportation and their ideas for solutions, because this is our city and we're living in it. And these, students are going to have to deal with rush hour traffic being way worse in a few years. And that's kind of the message I've gotten is we care about what you think. And I just love that that they want to hear what the students have to say.
Yeah, there's no doubt that when we call up an organization or talk to a professional and share what we're doing, they have so many challenges that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. The opportunity to invest in the future of their field is really appealing to them, and to do that with students is just, it's not exactly a hard sell
I agree.
that you
Well,
and I have to make. Yeah.
okay, so now what are some of your favorite moments looking back at
Oh,
SA
well,
Smart? I know you
well,
have
funny
some
you should
photos.
ask. Yeah, funny you should ask that.
Let's bring them up.
I've got some pictures here. This first picture is this is from last year's finals. These are the finalists, and we have Mayor Nurnberg there on the left, talking to the students. What does this highlight for me? One, I love that we're aligned with things that are important to the city. By the way, last year's challenge was water resources in San Antonio, which is a really important topic. And I want to speak very highly to the San Antonio water system, or SAWS, who just gave us incredible support. Really, actually, this SA Smart Chats we're doing kind of grew out of just amazing support we got from them. But, in this case, the mayor is, not only representing opportunity to talk to the leader of our city, but he is emblematic of the fact that we are putting students in front of many professionals, right? And some of the pictures that are going to follow here, are showing the opportunity for students to learn from adults who aren't necessarily their teacher, right? Who aren't going to give them a grade, but are real interested in them learning more about the topic. So that's picture number one. Here's a second picture. And Natasha, you're actually you know what, Natasha, why don't you explain what's going on in this picture? Because you're the one that made this happen.
Yeah, the chaos behind that picture. No, it was so much fun. One of my favorite parts is the mentors connecting with the teams. And this was a year in 2020, we had kicked off this idea of how can we bring in people and then we'll bribe everyone with pizza. So they share some lunch, and then the teams, you can see their Chromebooks, their laptops, and they're sharing their ideas at this competition clinic. And the mentors are going around and talking it out. Hey, well, this might work. No, that's probably not realistic solution. And this is where it starts. Like, this clinic is where these ideas really get formed. And then the teams leave energized and ready to tackle it and just, take it to the next level after this clinic.
Yeah, the two things I'd like to point out, if you see the two adults who are here in the upper right, the lady in the red blazer and then the gentleman behind her, those are mentors who are working with students. The lady in front is from the City of San Antonio Department of Innovation. And in fact, the city's chief innovation officer is in this room somewhere, working with the team as well. And, so that's just wonderful. But what I really love about this picture more than all is the chaos, I think.
Yeah.
As you put it. Just seeing all this happen together, but that's so much more real. I mean, this is the way life is, right? You have a meeting over a quick hamburger and then do something that's really amazing to change the world. That's kind of how it happens. So, yeah. All right, here's another picture. I love this. This is kind of a breakthrough moment for our program. This is at the Buena Vista Theater at the UTSA downtown campus, our competition clinic for that year. We literally had to go around and get chairs and put them up on the stage because we didn't have enough room for everybody to sit. And once again, those are subject matter experts talking about digital inclusion in this case, which is a whole story unto itself, how we wound up having digital inclusion be the topic, as the pandemic got started. So this picture, Natasha knows, anybody who's worked with me on this program knows, we really encourage the students to do the work, to do the research in particular, both market and technical research, which, by the way, I mean, I do these innovation programs for adults, and adults so often don't do the work. And you can really stand out if you embrace the technical research side of it, putting numbers up. Look at this slide. You can see that this student team, they went and got prices and they multiplied it out and they documented it, labeled it really well. It made this team stand out, which is why they were one of the winning teams this year. Mm-hmm. A spectacular technical analysis slide that they put together. And, so that I see something like that, I stop. This was my picture. I stop, I grab a picture because I think it's just really a great example of how to do well in the competition. There's another kind of research called market research, but it's its own topic. So, come to the competition clinic. We'll tell you all about it. And then this is my last picture. Natasha, you and I were talking before we started that I didn't pick this one because it had transportation on it. I didn't even realize it until we were going over it beforehand. But what I really love about this picture is it shows student voice and student leadership. We call our program, I say it's a research and pitch deck competition. There's a lot of STEM in what we're doing, but there's civics and there's entrepreneurship and there's leadership involved. And more than anything, we want to be teaching students not what to think, but how to think. Teaching them the skills that they need in order to land somewhere, in the middle of a problem and be very effective at figuring out how to address that problem. And here's an example of students coming up with their own ideas. I just love it.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we're about.
And so to wrap things up, what are some general advice you have for teams? Maybe there's some teams that are new to SA Smart this year or thinking about joining and they're kind of intimidated because, to be honest, if you haven't been in this competition, it kind of sounds overwhelming, like research, pitch deck, technical analysis. Let's give them some advice for those that are new.
So the first thing I want to point out is I think that's Natasha encouraging me to think more like a marketeer. So I take that feedback, right? And here I'll just model, that's like if I were interviewing her and she said that, I should think about that really seriously. So that, maybe topic number one is when you do market research, we ask you to talk to people in the market and really listen to what they have to say. You're the decision maker. You get to decide what you do, but you should be really thinking about that content and taking that research seriously. Something I forgot to say earlier when we were on the chaos slide is, those mentors who were there were helping the teams either develop their idea that they walked into the competition clinic with or come up with a new idea. So a piece of advice I would have is come to the competition clinic with an idea in mind, with a problem that you can state and a solution and a rationale for why you would work on it and solve it that way. Why? Because this is a unique opportunity. You're going to have adult subject matter experts there who can look at your idea and really help you put it on a good path. And you'll still get help if you don't come with an idea, but it won't be as impactful.
And you could even just come with questions. If you're still trying to figure out an idea, what are some questions you have around transportation to really help you narrow it down?
Indeed. Yeah. And here will be my final one is localize.
Can't say it enough.
Localize. That's probably, you can help me, Natasha, think of a better marketing way to say that. But, what we're really saying is don't just say we're going to take on transportation or we're going to solve the problem of a lot of cars on the highway. Talk about a place in San Antonio where you see a lot of cars on the highway and how you think it might be addressed. See a place where you ride your bike and you don't think there's a safe bike path, and name that spot. Talk about what you're going to do about it. And then maybe you could talk about how that idea would scale to other places, but make it local. I will tell you that from the judge's perspective, the more it's local and the more you've actually put good research and detail behind it, the more you're going to have their attention.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Cliff, for joining me on SA Smart Chats. And we look forward to seeing all the teams coming up January 18th at SAMSAT for the competition clinic.
And Natasha, thank you for making this a conversation. A lot of fun.
All right. Bye-bye.